You know Anthony Edwards as one of the NBA's rising stars. A walking highlight reel, charismatic, confident, and completely unstoppable on the court. But long before he became the face of the Minnesota Timberwolves, he was just a kid with a nickname and a dream. Anthony was only 3 years old when he got the nickname Ant-Man. His father gave it to him, but that's about all he contributed. Ant was raised by two powerful women, his mother and his grandmother. They were his backbone, his biggest cheerleaders. And at first, their support wasn't for basketball. Believe it or not, Ant's first love was football. At just 7 years old, he was already dominating the field, bigger, stronger, and faster than everyone else. Coaches could already see his future in the NFL. With huge hands, powerful legs, and freakish speed, Anthony looked like the next great running back, cornerback, or wide receiver. But then everything changed because of a single moment. One day, Anthony watched one of his brothers dunk a basketball, and just like that, a spark was lit. He started to fall in love with the game. Still, his mom insisted he stick with football. She believed that was his ticket out of poverty. But fate had other plans. At 13 years old, during a football game, Anthony suffered a brutal ankle injury. It was bad. So bad that he limped to school for months. And when he came back, he wasn't the same football player anymore. But weirdly enough, that injury unlocked something new. It's almost like his body evolved. His left leg became stronger, bouncier, almost like someone installed a trampoline in it. Suddenly, he was flying. At 14, he dunked for the first time. And from that moment on, there was no turning back. Basketball wasn't just a hobby anymore. It became an obsession. But talent alone wasn't enough. Edwards had raw power, sure, but his game needed polish. That's when he met Justin Holland, a respected skills trainer in Atlanta. Holland saw something in the young Ant, and he pushed him hard. While other kids were out partying, Anthony was in the gym, hour after hour, day after day, working on his shot, his handles, his decision-making. Holland challenged him, broke him down, built him back up. It was tough love, the same kind of love his mother used to give him. And just when things seemed to be going right, life threw him a cruel twist. Just when things were finally clicking for Anthony Edwards, tragedy struck. On January 5th, 2015, Anthony was only 14 years old when his mother lost her battle with cancer. Just 8 months later, he was hit with another devastating blow. His grandmother passed away from the same disease. The two most important people in his life were gone. In less than a year, it could have broken anyone. And for a moment, it nearly broke Ant. He was still just a teenager. His older siblings took custody of him, but they were kids themselves, barely getting by. Anthony moved from place to place, never really settled, always adjusting. No stability, no comfort, just survival. But somehow he didn't fold. Instead, Anthony found purpose in pain. He began wearing the number 5 on his jersey, the day both his mother and grandmother passed. Every time he stepped on the court, he played for them. But the road to greatness? It was far from easy. Anthony realized if he wanted to succeed, he had to focus, not just on the court but in the classroom too. He transferred to Holy Spirit Prep, a private school that required uniforms, long commutes, and strict academic standards. It was a different world, and at first he didn't fit in. To stay eligible for basketball, he had to raise his grades. That meant waking up earlier, staying up later, and taking extra classes. And it wasn't just school. He was still training with Justin Holland every evening, pushing himself harder than ever. He wasn't just playing basketball, he was living it. Ant was exhausted, physically and emotionally. At one point, a teacher noticed how drained he was and let him sleep in her office just so he could rest between school and training. That's how hard he was grinding. He didn't even have time to nap at home. But all that effort paid off. As a junior, Anthony led his high school to a state championship. And by his senior year, he was averaging 29 points and 10 rebounds per game. College scouts were calling. NBA rumors were starting to swirl. Suddenly, the kid with the broken ankle and the broken heart was a top 5 recruit in the entire country. But Ant didn't want to leave home. When it came time to pick a college, he chose to stay in Georgia. Not just for family, but because of Coach Tom Crean, a mentor who had developed stars like Dwyane Wade and Victor Oladipo. Guys who, like Edwards, weren't always the top picks, but worked their way to greatness. When Anthony arrived at training camp, his vertical leap measured 39.5 inches. Already elite. But 2 months later, he increased it to 41.5 inches. That's unheard of. And in his very first college game, he dropped 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 steals, breaking the school's freshman debut record. By the end of his freshman season, Ant was averaging 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. He was named SEC Freshman of the Year, and scouts had seen enough. His journey to the NBA had officially begun. But just because he was projected to go number 1 didn't mean everyone believed in him. Despite all the hype, Anthony Edwards wasn't a sure thing going into the 2020 NBA draft. Yeah, he was explosive. Yeah, he had a strong college season. But doubts lingered. His shooting percentages weren't great, just 40% from the field and a rough 29% from three. Critics said he relied too much on jump shots instead of using his freakish athleticism to attack the rim. He wasn't a strong passer, and on defense, he was often caught out of position or lacking focus. And then came the most controversial comment of all. Anthony publicly admitted he'd give up basketball if he could play in the NFL. For some scouts, that was a red flag. Questions about his love for the game spread fast. But the Minnesota Timberwolves saw past the noise. They saw the raw potential, the untapped superstar waiting to be unleashed. And on draft night, they made it official. With the first pick in the 2020 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Anthony Edwards from the University of Georgia. The Ant-Man was headed to the league, with the spirits of his mother and grandmother along for the ride. The 2021 season got off to a rocky start. It was shortened and strange due to the pandemic, but when the games finally began, Ant didn't waste time proving himself. From day one, he was a bucket. Even as a rookie, defenders couldn't keep up. He had a lightning-fast first step, could finish through contact, and scored from both hands, off either foot. When nothing else worked, his raw athleticism bailed him out. And don't even get started on the dunks, they were nasty. One moment he was crossing a guy over. The next he was dunking over a 7-footer. He didn't just show flashes, he showed he belonged. By the end of his rookie year, Edwards averaged 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists per game, finishing second in Rookie of the Year voting behind LaMelo Ball. But on and off the court, fans gravitated toward him. Why? Because Anthony Edwards was real. Confident, charismatic, and unapologetically himself. In interviews, he cracked jokes. On the court, he never backed down. And behind that big smile was a player who wanted it more than anyone. I was the 4th or 5th hitter. You know what that means? Clean up. Yeah, straight clean up. Heading into his sophomore season, Ant wasn't just talking about getting better, he was doing it. He grew an inch, now standing 6 feet 6 inches with a 6 feet 9 inches wingspan. He added more muscle, more bounce, and most importantly, a better jump shot. His effective field goal percentage jumped from 49% to 53%. His scoring increased to 21 points per game, along with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. But the biggest change? Minnesota started winning. For the first time in 4 years, and only the second time since 2004, the Timberwolves made the playoffs. And in Game 1 against the Memphis Grizzlies, Anthony Edwards came out like a superstar. He dropped 36 points and 6 assists, leading the Wolves to a huge win. They eventually lost the series in 6 games, but Ant made his mark. He averaged 25 points per game in that series, proving he could perform when it mattered most. Suddenly, nobody was questioning his motor. Nobody was doubting his desire. The NFL talk? Dead and gone. Anthony Edwards wasn't just in the NBA. He was arriving. By his 3rd NBA season, Anthony Edwards wasn't just growing, he was exploding. Still just 21 years old, Ant led the Timberwolves in scoring with 24.6 points per game. His stats jumped across the board, and his effort on both ends of the floor showed that he wasn't just here to entertain, he was here to lead. That season, Ant made his first All-Star appearance, a major milestone. But even bigger than the accolade? The way he earned it. Anthony wasn't coasting on hype. He was grinding. He added more to his game, tighter handles, smarter shot selection, better passing vision, and locked-in defense. He became the team's emotional heartbeat and vocal leader, despite being the youngest guy on the roster. And just like the year before, he saved his best for the playoffs. In the 2023 postseason, the Wolves were up against the top-seeded Denver Nuggets. Most people wrote them off. But Ant didn't care about predictions. He came in swinging. In Game 2, he scored a franchise-record 41 points in a playoff game. In Game 3, another 36 points. In Game 4, he put up 34, adding 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks, including a dagger 3 to send the game to OT. Yes, the Timberwolves lost the series. But nobody left talking about Denver. They left talking about Anthony Edwards. He averaged 31 points per game in the series, the most by any player on the floor. Still, questions lingered. Was Minnesota's ceiling capped? Was the Rudy Gobert trade a mistake? Could Ant take the next step? Well, in the 2023-24 season, he answered all of that loudly. The Timberwolves won 56 games, their second-best season ever. Edwards once again elevated his game. He averaged 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, while improving his shooting percentages and expanding his role as a playmaker and defender. But the real show began in the playoffs. In the first round against the Phoenix Suns, Edwards went nuclear, averaging 31 points per game, while shooting a ridiculous 51% from the field and 44% from deep. He didn't just score. He led the team in assists and steals, shutting down critics who once questioned his defense. Oh, and he swept the Suns. Minnesota hadn't won a playoff series in 20 years, and Ant made it look easy. He even passed Kevin Garnett for the most 30-point playoff games in Timberwolves history. In the second round, the Wolves faced the defending champs, the Denver Nuggets. Minnesota jumped out to a 2-0 lead, but then lost 3 straight. It looked like the series was slipping away. But Ant wasn't done yet. In Game 6, he turned into a two-way menace, dropping 27 points, grabbing steals, making key plays, and helping his team cruise to a dominant win. Then, in Game 7, despite offensive struggles, the Wolves locked in defensively and closed the series on the road. Just like that, Minnesota was in the Western Conference Finals for the first time in 2 decades. They eventually lost to Luka Doncic and the Mavericks, but Anthony Edwards? He won the hearts of fans everywhere. Because he's not just a high flyer, not just a scorer, not just a meme-worthy interview machine. He's all of that, but more importantly, he's real. He takes accountability after losses. He uplifts his teammates. He smiles through the pain. He leads with energy and confidence. Those earrings? Yeah, they fake. They just look good. That's Anthony Edwards. And he's just 22 years old. With his insane work ethic, passion for the game, and clutch mentality, there's no doubt Ant-Man is him. And he's just getting started.